I believe that every movie adheres to the 29-point story structure. No matter if the writer outlines first or if they dive in blind, the end product follows the same 29 beats. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is my 36th piece of evidence. The Palpatine bloodline lives on, but shrouds itself as a Skywalker, all because Qui-Gon Jinn could only buy freedom for one slave, not two. Well, I hear the extended Star Wars universe is fairly bitchin', so I'll make sure to do breakdowns of the standalone movies too. And look, we Trekkies have our own regretful entries in canon. Just utter the words "bridge on the captain." They tasked J.J. Abrams with wrapping up an ad hoc feeling trilogy, daunting enough without the waning confidence of the fandom. He took the torch and jogged with it to subvert expectations, and he capped a several-decade saga with familiar themes and scenes. And he harnessed this high-octane finale by funneling it through the 29-point story structure. Let's begin. A tight focus on the core elements of the protagonist's personality, inner conflict, and situation. We jump straight into Kylo Ren's Palpatine scavenger hunt and his motivation to kill our protagonist. Finn, Poe, and Chewie dial up the action to receive and transport an urgent message for the Resistance, while Rey is trained by General Leia in a sunlit Dagobah sort of way, and still suffers a connection to Kylo Ren. Where, why, and how the protagonist exists in their world, with a focus on why they don't quite fit in. Rey falls short in her training and doesn't feel worthy of the Skywalker saber, only to get harassed for doing the training anyway with the Resistance in short supply of fighters. Then the First Order spy reports an imminent attack from an unforeseen fleet, launched out of an ancient Sith territory. A singular event that's never happened before, and is destined to lead the characters away from their status quo. We say our final goodbyes, setting out on the last adventure where no one has plot armor anymore. An examination of what's different in light of something new, what's the same in spite of it in relation to the status quo. The Millennium Falcon jets off for another space adventure. Then Kylo Ren resurrects the symbol of his power, his postmodern faux punk Vader mask, and Rey confesses to having no family name, an echo of falling short of the Skywalker saber. The discovery that things are less than ideal, or an exploration of how badly things are. Kylo Ren snatches Rey's location from around her neck and through the ether. Then Lando freaking Calrissian points the crew in the direction of a clue to the Sith planet, and a stormtrooper squadron descends on the crew. Characters dedicate their effort to a specified goal, which is smaller in scope than the primary objective of the third act. The crew neutralizes the stormtrooper squadron through creativity and trusting in droids, and the Resistance clings to the final tendrils of hope left in the galaxy. A brief checklist of the story elements needed for the second act. Lingering questions from episodes 7 and 8, ghosts of space Nazi past, the laws and mythos of old affecting the present, trusting Rey to lead everyone through insurmountable odds, and the rarely seen healing power of the Force. The singular event that launches the characters into the wild jungle of the second act, also called an oh shit moment. The Knights of Ren have landed on the planet's surface. Oh shit. Characters must learn all new rules and expectations distinct to this adventure. Rey deals with Kylo Ren chasing her across the galaxy, then displays a very familiar force power that stuns the Supreme Leader into silence. Characters showcase their ability to grow in the areas this adventure requires, typically through external means. The reports of Chewie's death have been greatly exaggerated. Then the crew jets off to intergalactic wartime Germany, apparently, and brute forces themselves an ally to extract the information from C-3PO's memory. Characters face legitimate and understandable reasons to deviate from their stated convictions, agendas, or desires. The crew faces the prospect of purging C-3PO's memory to advance their mission, and Poe is given an easy out if he wants to abandon the Resistance. An escalation of problems that vex the characters. Rey feels a connection to her parents, as an MS-DOS C-3PO regurgitates the forbidden translation, and the First Order crowds the skies above them. Then the crew boards the Imperial Star Destroyer and blasts their way to Chewie. Characters evolve internally by utilizing everything they've gathered and learned. In true Star Wars fashion, the crew splits up. Finn, Poe, and refurbished C-3PO find and free Chewie, only to get surrounded. Then Rey recalls memories of her family while long-distance lightsaber battling Kylo Ren. Journey-weary characters reconcile the reality of their ongoing situation with who they were in the first act. A beleaguered General Hux reveals himself as the Act 1 spy and sets the crew free, while Rey and Kylo Ren square off face to face and he reveals her Palpatine parentage. A singular event that strikes at the protagonist's core conflict. Rey rejects the notion that anyone truly knows her, who she is, and there's no turning back from here. Characters find needed answers for both external and internal conflicts. The crew finds the location of the Sith Wayfinder and new allies, and Finn discovers that other stormtroopers have deserted, that fighting space fascism is awakening within the core of the fascist empire. The clarified objective is realized in part or in whole, though it's meaningless without the completion of the primary objective. Rey charges in to retrieve the Wayfinder, but it's a perilous journey fraught with larger-than-life danger. She obtains the Wayfinder, but she's confronted by a vision of her Sith alter ego. An existential conflict that wounds the character's sense of self, worldly identity, or their journey. Rey loses the Wayfinder to a waiting Kylo Ren, who appeals to her dark anger. Then he destroys the Wayfinder and the Resistance's last hope to stop Palpatine, which enrages Rey enough to take on the Supreme Leader herself with all the piss and vinegar in her system. An undeniable win for the protagonist, typically in direct connection to the rebirth. Rey takes on the head of the First Order herself. It makes use of Leia's distraction by burying Kylo Ren's own saber into his chest. A grand loss directly connected to the character's newfound inability to quit the journey. The effort and sorrow take their toll on Leia, and her death ripples through the Force to Rey and Kylo Ren. Rey heals him, saves him from death to feel the full weight of the grief. Then the Resistance absorbs her loss too. A thematic freefall, tied directly to the heavy price. Kylo Ren rejects his space Nazi ways and searches for Ben in what's left of his fractured soul. A singular event that robs the protagonist of seemingly any chance of success. Palpatine orders a trap to be set for Rey and the Resistance, one she's now too chaotic to see coming. Characters cannot return to their starting personas and must turn to face the primary objective. Poe struggles with how to answer the First Order's final charge into the galaxy, while Rey attempts a Skywalker retirement the Force Ghost Luke won't allow, who gifts her Leia's saber and his old X-Wing and sends her off with Kylo Ren's Wayfinder and a mission. Characters move towards the climax while utilizing the major swings and sneaky misdirections of the story. The Resistance, like the Rebellion, sets a plan and saddles up, using the usual ground attack, but on the surface of a freaking Star Destroyer, while Rey confronts Palpatine in the Sith throne room she envisioned earlier and learns of his current plot to cheat death a little longer. The final confrontation between the protagonist and the antagonistic force. Finn chooses to sacrifice himself for the opportunity to neutralize the entire fleet, while Rey and Ben perform their usual shenanigans and cut and slice their way to Palpatine. A galaxy's worth of everyday ships arrive to hammer the First Order, and the voices of Jedi past call forward to Rey, embolden her with the strength to carry on. The singular event where the protagonist finally confronts their place in the status quo. Rey declares her allegiance to the Jedi and wields 2 Skywalker sabers to defeat Palpatine. The direct aftermath of the climax. Finn and Janna take out the Command Star Destroyer, saved by Lando and Chewie. Then Ben revives Rey, as she did for him. The consequences of the climax in relation to other characters and the status quo. The effort to revive Rey cost Ben what little energy he had left. Then the Skywalkers all fade into the ether, and the Resistance celebrates their final victory over the space Nazis. A tight focus on the protagonist contrasted from the opening. Rey buries the Skywalker sabers at the old home of the guy who owned then married Luke and Leia's grandmother. then takes on the name Skywalker as her own, choosing her family and her legacy. And there you have it, my 36th example to support my argument that all movies follow the exact same story structure, regardless of how the writer approaches their craft. The Rise of Skywalker trimmed the end of the second act to give us a more thrilling third act, yet every step of the 29-point story structure is accounted for. But does this political family space drama finale follow the same plot beats as the horror monster reboot that silenced all the cynics and negative Nellies of the net? Yes, it arguably does. Next on my docket, The Invisible Man. Please subscribe to stay up to date with this and future videos, and please like and comment with your thoughts and reactions. I'll talk to you next time.